Hello and welcome to New Earth, New Love, part 3 of this 5-part series, Inspiring the Divine Within. I am your facilitator, your host, self-love guru, Krishna Escobar. Welcome. If you're new to this series or you are returning, hello and welcome. New Earth, New Love is a 5-part series that explores a very core and powerful question that has been rising in the minds and hearts of many of us that asks, how do we create the new earth? And in my work specializing in self-love wellness, decolonization, and building a healthy, conscious lifestyle, my answer is by building a strong foundation of love, New Earth love. This workshop series dives into moving the notion of love into a more balanced and harmonious experience, where each workshop will offer guidance on physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual skill building. And in this particular workshop, we are going to be exploring the divine within. So we're going to be talking about body-mind rebirth and decolonization. We're going to be exploring divine feminine and divine masculine. We're going to be really touching on what is Indigenous wisdom and looking at how these things help to support the rebirthing of love. So in this workshop, we lead with this statement: I rebirth into freedom with my divine wisdom. So here is the take a moment activity, if you are familiar with my other series. And we are going to be reflecting on, what does divine wisdom feel like? So take a moment and jot down 5 words or so that describe divine wisdom. How does it make you feel? Where in the body do you feel this feeling? And just take a moment. Okay, so write down your final thoughts. Now, let us talk about the new earth energy upgrades, the energy that has been coming in to the planet at this time, and how these new earth energy upgrades are really affecting us. Now, in the first and second series, I touch on the 444 New Earth Gateway and how this gateway has really ushered in a new timeline. And in the last series, I touched on a little bit on the notion of the duality, or the 2 timelines that are taking place simultaneously on the planet at this time. But today I want to talk about some really important points that are happening at this time, that are setting the stage for the energy that is available to us at this time. And I want to start with the North Node in Gemini. Now, the North Node in Gemini is a time of information. It is a time when we're going to be really using social media and media outlets, media forms rather, as modalities for us to explore new information. We're going to be exposed to new ideas and new knowledge as we, as a collective, want to expand our thinking mind. So the message here is to engage in this energy from a place of personal exploration. Who am I? Who am I really? What is the purpose of the connectedness, the integration to the soul? Where do I ordinate and work to address some of my personal issues and beliefs? Well, we're taking this time to address 30% of the past. What are some of the things that we're working to purge or to do away, to move from? And we're going to be stepping into 70% of our thoughts, focusing on the new, the present, and the new. So North Node in Gemini is going to be really a very crucial time for us. And depending on when you access this video, you will have really noticed this in some of the things that have been happening with protesting, with the dismantling of systems, with just an array of information being shared for people to discern and to look into within themselves for the truths. So it's important for us to really stay connected to our soul purpose and to be using this time and building knowledge in connection to this. Where is my life force connected to source? Because us moving into a new earth and creating a change, a new earth that is completely different than any experience we've ever had in the past, is to really stay in the vibration of where do we get our life force from, and really staying true to that so that we're stepping into 70% of our actions and building knowledge from this place. The second aspect of these new earth energy upgrades at this time that I would like to talk about in this series, specifically related to us exploring the divine within, is to talk about retrogrades. And for this workshop, I want to talk about Venus retrograde and how that's really going to be influencing us. So, of course, depending on when you might be checking in and accessing this video, you might experience this Venus retrograde, or you might have already experienced the Venus retrograde. It is taking place through the 25th of June during the year 2020. So what I might speak to you on might be something that you have already experienced. So Venus is the ruler of love, beauty, and money. And this retrograde is in Gemini. And I just shared with you that we also have a North Node in Gemini. So us really being in our thoughts and really thinking about these aspects are going to be a interesting way for us to be thinking about this, because we might actually tend to overthink any past, present, or future, because Gemini is the ruler of thoughts. But it also, in the sign of Gemini, is a very flirty sign. So we're going to feel our need for freedom, and taking in information related to love, beauty, and money, and how it connects to our freedom is going to be really important during this time. So Venus retrograded in love. Venus retrograded during this time is a very important time for us, since it is in the sign of Gemini, to use the mind and to reevaluate things that are related to love and to money and to beauty, and to begin to notice what are, again, going back to the North Node in Gemini, where does the purpose connected to my soul really lie? And really stepping into the new, that 70% of our thoughts, really offering that. So retrogrades are all about reflection time. And Gemini is a mutable sign and it is a free sign. So having time for the self and having time for reflection about these concepts would be really crucial because the energy is providing it for us. If we've already passed Venus retrograde by the time you've accessed this video, just think about how you've been able to gain from that new Earth energy upgrade that took place through the 25th of June. Now let us move on. Have you ever heard any of these terms? We're going to be exploring some of these things today. So what, if any, of these terms noted here have you heard of? Have you heard of Indigenous knowledge before? Have you heard of concepts like freedom, liberation, peace? What does divine feminine and masculine mean? Have you heard these terms? Take a moment to think about that. Now, what is body-mind rebirth? A body-mind rebirth would be defined by me as the mind and the body functioning as a whole unit, decolonized and in harmony with the divine self within. Now, if you joined me for part 2, you explored the notion of integration. So we're going to be touching on that concept because this is where the body-mind rebirth takes place. So body-mind rebirth is a divine balance. It reflects harmony in this way. And balance in these principles exists in all cultures around the world. There is a universal law of balance that exists in religious, cultural, and spiritual teachings. In these teachings, the core elements fire, water, air, and earth, also represented by the 4 directions, are all the basic blueprints for the balance that is and has ever been to support all life. To find the inspiration of the body-mind rebirth is to begin to understand this concept for the self. Now, because this seems and can feel so philosophical, right? The elements of fire, water, we might notice what those are externally from us, but maybe we haven't noticed those elements within. Now, in order to really help this, the body-mind rebirth process, we can talk about it from an aspect of energy that represents the divine feminine and the divine masculine. This is another example of divine balance. The old earth lived in a patriarchal system that was not balanced. As the new earth timeline shifts, new earth love is reflected and represented in a rising of the divine feminine and its infinite power of creation. So the divine feminine, the creatress, is rising. This energy is rising, and the ability to manifest a new reality is available to us within this energy, the balancing of the divine feminine and the divine masculine within, allowing the divine feminine creatress, creator nature, the creator on earth, the mother, the divine feminine, to rise within. And this natural order of balance is harmonious because it brings liberation within the love and the compassion and the nurturance. It brings freedom and peace within the balance, within the expression. Other universal terms and experiences humans describe as part of this evolutionary process could be used. But at the end of the day, it truly represents some of the innate knowing that we have. And this is what is called indigenous knowledge. As humans, we have some innate pieces of knowledge, innate knowledge systems that are part of our DNA. And the colonial reality has blurred these, have cut us off from a lot of these knowledge knowings. And part of our rebirth is exploring the divine wisdom that lie within the indigenous knowledge. So let's explore this. So here's the take a moment. What does indigenous knowledge, or how does indigenous knowledge influence my life? Please take a breath, a deep breath, and visualize what indigenous knowledge looks and feels like in your life. Take another deep breath. So, some might ask, how might we learn how to live in this state if this has never been our reality? And the decolonized body mind goes through this process of questioning. And this is where part 1 and part 2 of this series supports our process, because indigenous knowledge is possible when we decolonize the body mind. And decolonization leads us to our rebirth. So it is a natural process. It's not something that we really have to work hard at, because the detoxification process that happens, that I talk about in part 2, really helps to support this rebirth of a more clear opportunity for the integration to take place. And as we self-love deeply, as we acknowledge the body mind, we naturally purge the narratives and realities that once resided, and we instead lean on indigenous knowledge as a divine balance with its elements and knowledge, living in harmony with Mother Earth. Because this knowledge also helps to represent the internal self. What is without is within, meaning what is our external world is going to affect our internal world. And so when we understand that this knowledge has a divine placement and a cosmic order to its approach, we can then understand that it provides clarity on the oneness state that lives in all life on this planet. And with that, divine timing and placing ourselves in context of a being having a human experience versus we are only a human having this experience allows us to expand outside of ourselves and move past the limitations of our physical, emotional, and mental bodies, because it allows us to open ourselves up to the body, mind, soul complex. And this beautiful process of divine placement and cosmic order allows us, with the timing that is best aligned for our personal journey, to be able to be birthed within the unlearning, the conditionings taught by us within the colonial reality. As we decolonize the body mind, we find our rebirth. So why love rebirth? Why would this be important for us to talk about? Well, let's review. The divine feminine rising is a core element of what has been kind of suppressed. Well, let me not say kind of. It has been suppressed within the human experience for many hundreds of years. Now, I'm not going to say for the entirety of the human experience, because our indigenous selves had more balance. And so love rebirth encompasses this balance of the indigenous knowing with harmony and peace within and among all life beings, because we are a part of Earth. We are an ambassador of Earth. We are a child of Earth. And so love rebirth integrates the body, mind, soul by decolonizing and thus providing the opportunity for rebirth. Now let's talk about divine wisdom, because that rebirth process gives us divine wisdom. And divine wisdom comes from within. And new earth love is rebirth from a balanced body, mind, soul complex. I truly would define divine wisdom in this way. And that is why it is crucial for us to talk about it and for us to represent that within this workshop. So, love rebirth is represented in energy. It is, as shared in part 2, it represents our perception of the body mind in a more balanced way. It as shared in part 2, love is energy. And when we perceive our body mind from a more balanced place, we activate the energy of self-love, the core foundation of divine wisdom. So, love rebirth represents love as energy, as discussed in part 2. When we perceive our body mind from a more balanced place, we activate the energy of self-love, the core foundation of divine wisdom. Body mind rebirth through decolonization leads us open and ready to find healing, to find balance within our energy centers, and begin planning the manifestations of the realities we desire. Rooted from a place of love, we inspire the divine within. We are then able to enact and make use of our innate intelligence. This is our divine wisdom, because when we have the capacity to access our spiritual intelligence, it lies within, and with some support, like workshops like this, you can find your awakening process to these hidden truths. As I discussed, the divine feminine rising allows us to use our intuition from a place of compassion. As we merge from the action-orientedness of masculine principles that have been overused in a more balanced energetic way, we make use of divine wisdom to feel, to see, and to act from a place of integration, intuitive integration. And in this way, we acknowledge and honor the complete whole being we are, a body, mind, and soul. And in this way, we are liberated, because inspiring the divine within from this perspective allows us to see with more love and more clarity than ever before, because love truly is rebirthed, it's cleansed, and it is liberated. Let us do a recap, inspiring the divine within. Let me have you go back to the beginning of this workshop. when I asked you to jot down some words on what does divine wisdom feel like, and take a moment to revisit that list for just a sec. Now I'd like to ask you to reflect, in what areas of my life would I like to strengthen the integration of my divine feminine and divine masculine? As I said, we of all gender expressions possess divine feminine and divine masculine. How do I currently promote my body, mind, soul complex? And end with a reflection on how I would like to increase my ability to access my divine wisdom in the following ways. Take time to jot down a few ideas. Now, I do hope that you will come back to these questions outside of this workshop and provide yourself more time to reflect. It is here for you to re-watch again and re-explore with more time. And if you are called to receive more supportive mentorship, I am here humbly awaiting your readiness to begin this unique journey, because it is a journey. It truly is a journey. And in this beautiful journey, sometimes mentorship and support really help to push us further in a shorter period of time. So please reach out and let's stay connected. Follow me at Self Love Creatives. You can find me on the gram most often, but I'm also on Facebook. Please stay connected. I would love to hear how this workshop has inspired you or just offered a new point of view. And if you have any feedback or ideas for future workshops, please send me a message. I would love to hear and stay connected with you. And of course, I want to share with you a new podcast, Loving Me Creatively, where I talk about all things love, imagination, and transformation. It is a wonderful expression where I get to not only talk and share storytelling, which I love to do, but I am ending each podcast with a channeled meditation. And so do lean on this as a resource for you if you find that that is something of support or it would be of benefit. You will um, you will definitely appreciate it. I don't remember what word I was trying to share. And lastly, in my silly nature, as it comes out at the end of this end of this workshop rather, is the part 4 of this series, Just Play, where we get to explore creative expression versus the ideas or notions of output, time, and work. And we'll be talking about some really core concepts like heart-centered living and sacred creativity and the idea of sacred time and play. So please do check me out for any of those details, either on the social media outlets or at selflovecreatives.com. If you're interested in any of the artwork that you noticed throughout this workshop or paintings that you saw there in the imagery, please check me out on my website, outselflovecreatives.com, in the Om Art section. I have lots of beautiful healing art there, and I'm always open for commission work. So if you want this little something created just for you to inspire your journey, please reach out to me for that. You can follow me and find me and all of my creative wares at Kisses for Liberation. Thank you again for joining me. It is a pleasure and a blessing to be given these tasks, these spiritual messages, these energetic instructions, these wisdom codes to pass on to you. I am humbly accepting this invitation, and I look forward to spending more time with you in part 4. All the love and blessings to you.